in the real estate industry. It'll affect regulation. It'll affect so many different things. So making sure this
I'm
is
on
done
y'all's
right
day two
is long
of
term
the,
so very important.
you
So
know, I'm
this is
shooting outside. Feel me, get my shot
something that
right.
I think is so
Yesterday I did a
important,
50
right? So I'm
shots,
excited about
and
this. But
it took me
just
a
so you
minute.
guys
I'm not
know,
gonna
if
lie. Like
you
I'm trying to do
like
this way
what I'm
faster,
teaching, what I'm
but yeah,
saying,
we just
how I'm
out here
saying
seeing
it,
how
make sure you
long
check
it
out my
takes
free
me and seeing
content.
if
So
I
my
could get
podcast,
faster at
Driving
doing
for
that.
Dollars
But
Mastery,
yeah, 50
is a
million
great
threes.
place
That's
where I
the
do a
quick
ton of
goal. If you like
education,
content like
teaching
this, make sure
exactly
you
what we
smash that
do,
like
how
button,
we do it,
subscribe,
what
and
I
you know,
teach these
straight.
guys, what these guys are paying me to do. A lot of them are on the show, what they did, how they did it, granular, step by step, so you guys can take and implement, right? My goal is to, yes, coach people that want my personal time, want my help, but more than anything, my content, my free stuff, this stuff here, I want to keep constant in so I just want you guys to know that I'm truly am here to help you and support you. Alfonso said, followed you on YouTube podcast. Thank you guys. Yeah, if you guys want to check out that 40-day challenge, I did a 40-day challenge. Flew across the country. I made $93,000 just 40 days. Doing Driving for Dollars with only $1,000 in marketing. That was it. And a smartphone and a car, of course. And it's free. You go to my YouTube channel, real estate. Driving for Dollars free dash Zach Booth. Just go to playlist to watch that 40-day challenge. All right, the topic today is how to handle objections, negotiations, right? I don't have like a script or a format to go through, but this is just a handful of things that I want to do. So I think it'd be beneficial if you guys want to have a pen and paper to maybe take some notes, because I'm going to cover a lot of information very quickly. So the first rule of thumb that I always cover, not just for what I teach, but also myself, whether I'm negotiating a real estate deal, whether I'm negotiating hiring someone, whether I'm negotiating with a potential student, the first rule of thumb is that if it was a family member that I love dearly that was on the other end of this negotiations, would I treat my script or my negotiation strategy differently? If your negotiation strategy changes, if a family member calls to sell you their house, if it changes from what you're currently doing, you need to reevaluate what you're doing. You need to change it. It needs to be changed. Because if you cannot 100% do exactly what you're doing when it's someone you actually care about, you are not working with high integrity, and it's actually costing you money. Because people can smell the bullshit. One of the number one things that I get from people that want to be my students, they say, Zach, I see that you're authentic. What does that mean? It means I'm authentic, or they see that I mean what I say. They see that I truly am who I say that I am. I'm not faking that I actually care about people. I'm not faking that I do what I believe in, right? And so I want you guys to write that down. That's the first rule of thumb, okay? So what I mean by that is I actually had this realization when I was negotiating and when I was coaching people that were really struggling with negotiations. What happened is I had my cousin call me. His name's Brent. He said, hey, Zach, we're waiting to buy my house. I said, well, Brent, you know I'm an investor, right? I make money when I buy a house. He said, yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, well, what's the situation? Why wouldn't you just fix it up or just list it with a real estate agent and try and squeeze out as much as possible? What's going on? Well, I need to relocate quickly. My wife, is going through liver failure. We're moving to Salt Lake. I've already got a new job. If I get out of it what I owe on it, I'm good. I'm golden. I just need to be done quick. Could you pay what I owe? I said, what do you owe? Let me do my research. We figured out what made sense and took care of him. I made some money. He was able to get what he needed. And I was like, damn, that was an easy deal, right? And that's when it was all born. It was like, that's how it needs to be. Because what happened is I used to be a doubter. I used to think that real estate wholesaling is not possible. I used to see these gurus online and say they're full of shit. They're selling courses because they can't make money. Who else has thought that? Anyone? Chime in if you've thought that. I've thought it, and it's 100% true for a lot of them, by the way. It is. I want you to know that. It's legitimately a fair concern. So I was very doubtful of the reality of becoming wealthy in real estate because of this. And I was washing windows for a very wealthy gentleman. He was actually a real estate developer. His name was Stan Nielsen. And I was washing his windows, and I, heard about his story, how he became wealthy, how he retired in his early 30s as a developer and quit as a civil engineer. And I remember saying at the end of the conversation, you know, he was so genuine and kind and nice and telling me his story. And I said, man, if I could just get 2 rentals this year, it'd be life-changing. And he gave me 2 properties at such a huge discount. I turned around and sold them a year and a half later for over, between the 2 of them, I made about $130,000. And I was like, holy shit, that's a deal of a lifetime. He knew more than me. I remember being terrified to sign the agreement because he put it on a piece of white blank paper what we were agreeing to with the seller finance terms. And I'm like, whoa, we can't sign this. And he's educating me and telling me to take it to the title company and talk to an agent to make sure he was getting me a good deal and double check the rents. Like, he educated me because he didn't want to deal with it. He liked me. And everything that I've been doing was really making sense. Right? It is possible, but how do we do it consistently? How do we find these deals consistently? We need to find people that we can help and serve and that are okay with us making money because of the speed and convenience factor. That's when I invested into a coach. I hired Tom Kroll back in the day from Wholesaling Inc., the founder of that company, and you know, it was an incredible experience. I had a lot of success, but it only happened because I believed. And the whole reason I did the 40-day challenge, guys, and before I left, I prayed. I said, I want to find a Stan Nielsen for the world. I want them to have the blessing that I was given, the gift of meeting a guy that was willing to sell speed and convenience, overpriced, had money, didn't care, wanted that, right? I met Jerry Tidwell. I signed 3 contracts with him on day 4, right? Called him off a wrong phone number, and I happened to say, well, you don't happen to have any other properties you'd like to sell, do you? He said, actually, I do. Right? Best question ever. And I remember being an emotional mess because it was a gift that I wanted to give the world, right? And I believe that we can make a ton of money, and we make more money when we're honest. Because we don't convince anyone to sell at a discount. If you think that you have to be a good salesman and convince someone to do something, it's a misconception. And I see this all the time, that people think I'm a really good salesman and I'm good at convincing people, and that's not the truth at all. I'm good at finding people that want my help. So I discovered this when I was washing windows, actually. So I built a window cleaning business where we were doing about $500,000 a year in window cleaning sales, right? That's a lot of freaking window cleaning. And I built all of that business by door-to-door sales, just me, right? And I discovered that my pitch needed to be, hey, I'm doing bids for window cleaning. Do you want to bid for window cleaning? If it was no, I'd say, do you want a postcard? They said no. I would literally just take off running, right? Because the faster I could get to the next door, and I knew how many doors I had to knock to get an answer. I knew how many answers I had to get to get a yes to a bid. And I knew how many bids I had to get a contract. It was a very mathematical equation. There was no convincing whatsoever. And I found that it's the same thing in this business. We have to ask the question, though, why don't you sell it with an agent? Why don't you fix it up? Why don't you keep it with a, as a rental? Why don't you go through those things? What that does is it quickly qualifies them as, they don't really want an investor. I'm wasting my time and not getting to that next person faster. What it also does is it builds trust. It builds trust because you literally have their best interest at heart at that point, and they see it, and it's authentic. Because if they say, well, I could, list it with an agent and make more, it's like, yeah, you definitely could. Maybe I'm not the best fit for you. I mean, I can make it fast and convenient, but if you're trying to make as much as possible, deal with an agent. And they're like, well, I don't really want to do that. It's like, okay, well, I can come meet with you, with that understanding. I just, I want you to know what I do and what I offer if that's what you're looking for. Then you show up to that appointment, and you're the one that's on their side trying to solve the problems they're dealing with, and then the other guy that shows up is lying to them about value and saying that they can get more and they can get full retail when they know that that's all BS, right? So keeping that in mind is so very important, right? That it's the goal is to find the people that we can help, that we can serve. So that I want that is the foundation of all the negotiations that you do. The next part of this is I want to cover objections, sellers' objections, and lead objections. So there's 2 types of objections that I've discovered in this business. There's the preliminary objections that I'll cover, and then there's the objections right at the closing table. Like when people say, or where you give an offer and you're trying to negotiate to sign the agreement at the close of the appointment, you're going to get objections like, I need to talk to my attorney, right? I need to review the contract with the attorney. Some of the others is, I need to talk to my dad. I need to talk to my kids because I'm going to die soon and they're going to inherit the money. I need to talk to someone, right? That's the second one. The next one is, I don't make any rash decisions. I like to sleep on it. That's the next huge objection you're going to get in closing table. We're going to cover those last. Those are the common objections that we're going to get. We're going to cover those. The first objections that I want to cover, though, are the objections around the preliminary stuff. Because what is our job in the very beginning of the call is discovering what they want and why they want it. So when we first get a hold of someone, whether they're cold calling or driving for Dollars List, or texting, door knocking, postcarding, you're going to get objections. And the objections are in forms of questions. Every question you get with a seller is an objection. Their questions mean more than what they're asking. For example, if you call someone and you say, hey, this is Zach, I was wondering if you'd like to sell 123 Elm Street. And they say, who are you? Right? They're not just saying, who are you? They don't want to know who your name is. They don't want to know who you are. They want to know why the hell you're calling them. Why are you interested in the property? There's a lot more that they're worried about. Are you a scammer? What's this about? How did you get my phone number? This is all the thoughts they're having, and it comes out as, how did you get my number, right? Because if you say, yeah, my name's Zach, and then you stay quiet, what is going to happen? They're going to ask you another question, and another question, and another question. To the point where they're like, okay, well, whatever, I'm not interested. They're going to hang up, and you're going to be like, man, they asked me all these questions. Are they interested in selling? Who's had this happen where, like, you asked the initial question, and then you got interviewed by them, and then they hung up? Who's had this ever happen? Yeah, I see some hands moving. The reason for this is they fired with an objection. The rule is this. So there's an analogy. You run from a dog, it'll chase you. You chase a dog, it'll run from you. Who's heard this analogy? Okay, it doesn't mean sellers are dogs, right? But it's a good analogy because if they ask a question, it's objection. They're pulling away every question. Who are you? Are you, could you really buy my house? Is this a scam? How did you get my phone number? These are objections, them pulling away. And if all you do is answer the question, you're chasing them. They're pulling away with every question, and every time you answer, you're coming forward. So instead of saying, hey, I'm wondering if you'd be interested in selling your house at 123 Elm Street, right? And they go, yeah, who is this? Simply answer the question, fine, but immediately fire back with a question. Because what you're doing is you're taking control of the conversation. You're pulling away. You say, yeah, my name's Zach. I was wondering if you thought of selling that property. Do you want to sell the property? Well, how'd you get my number? They don't even answer your question. Oh, I got it from public records. You seem annoyed. It doesn't sound like you want to sell. Do you not want to sell your house? Right? Like you answer it bluntly to the point and be to the point with your question. I don't want to annoy you, but do you not want to sell your house? Right? You don't owe them an explanation to anything. Give it to them out of respect, but your job's to qualify them. Your job's to be on that door. Do you want to bid for window cleaning? I'm doing bids for window cleaning. If they say no, do you want a flyer? And what the do you want a flyer question is, no, I don't want to sell. Okay, out of the blue, you know anyone else who'd like to sell their house? No, okay, goodbye. Next. I hang up. I don't even do pleasantries. I remember on the 40-day challenge, I'd have students coming out to the live, I'd let them come and hang out with me, and I'm dialing through people, just hanging up on people. As soon as I qualify, I'm boom, next. I'm in a hurry. And they're like, Zach, you're so rude. I'm like, I know, but I have 40 days. Guys, we have such a short amount of time in our lives, right? We owe it to the people that we can help. We owe it to our families. We owe it to ourselves to have success quickly and find the people that we're trying to serve. You only find the people that we need to serve by asking intelligent questions and pre-qualifying them. So the first objections you're ever going to deal with are answering those preliminary questions that they're firing at you. So the rule of thumb is the person in control of the negotiations, the person in control of the conversation is the one listening, the one that then fires back with a question and listens, not the person convincing and chatting. There is nothing more obnoxious than having a salesman that won't shut up. Who's had this experience? It is so obnoxious. They think that they can just woo you into spending money. And it just makes you want to run for the hills, right? Who's had this? Like, they're like, dude, I can't get out of this dealership fast enough. I can't get out of this store fast enough. I can't get out of this call fast enough. I just want to hang up on this guy, right? So Alfonso said, I'm really not talking. Yeah, you don't talk. Your job is to find out if you can help them. You ask questions like, yeah, I just wondering if you wanted to sell. Oh, you do? Well, great. Well, do you have a time frame you'd like to sell? Well, what's the condition of the house? Well, it sounds like it's in decent condition. You have tenants, it sounds like. Why don't you just keep renting the property? Why would you consider selling to me? Well, I don't know. You called me. Why do you want to buy it? Yeah, I'm an investor looking for an opportunity. Maybe I'm not a fit for you, though. Why don't you just keep it as a rental? I'm just trying to see if I can help you. Do you not want to sell it? Do you want to sell it? I'm just trying to figure out what you really need. Oh, well, you called me. It's like, well, fair enough. We can come to a price that makes sense for both of us, but you might actually make money working with someone different than me. That's why I'm asking these questions. Is it okay if I ask you a few more questions, or am I annoying you? Right? No, you're not annoying me, right? But if they keep pulling away when you pull away, they're tire kickers. You're going to quickly get tire kickers off the phone doing that.
Just a quick check-in. I'm pretty sure I just did 4 sets. Sometimes it's hard because I'm counting and doing stuff to keep track, but just for the video's sake, I just did 4 sets. I got 6 more left. I think I'm doing way better, like in terms of time.
One thing that I would highly suggest you guys do less pre-qualifying over the phone in the beginning. If you're not like super confident and comfortable, it's 1,000 times harder to do this over the phone. Why? Because you can't see facial expressions. You can't see people sitting with their arms folded. You can't see their body, right? And it's a lot harder for people to be an asshole to you in person. It's going to be a lot easier to get to the root of what's going on, right? So one of the reasons I won't coach someone to do virtual wholesaling in the beginning is this number one fact. It's so much easier in person. And if you're doing virtually, you can do it virtually. I suggest getting Zoom, just like this, so you can see them, right? Set a virtual appointment to talk to them once they do say they want to sell. Your job's to get to, yes, I want to sell my house. Great, I'd love to meet with you. My offer largely depends on the condition of the house and where I'm at. Could you meet with me at the property and let me look at it? Or could you send me pictures of the house so I can figure out where we're at with condition, and then we can go over it, and then we can jump on a Zoom call and discuss it, right? So you have the opportunity to speak with them and figure out what their needs are. So while you're going through figuring out what their needs are, what their problems are, authentically asking questions, right? Well, what's the price that you want? How much do you want? How much do you want to walk away with? Keep asking all those questions to get a number out of you, right? And when they give you some pie in the sky, right? You need to be anywhere between 150 and 200,000 to make money, and they want 400,000 for the property, right? Where'd you come up with that number? Why is that your number? My price range is going to be way below that, and it's going to offend you, I think, because I'm not even half of what you're asking. Is that going to offend you? Are you going to hang up on me if we start talking numbers down in that range? Like, everything that I say it with a question. Does that make sense? Because I want to understand where they're coming from. I want to keep them talking. I don't want to justify my numbers. I don't want to justify why that's. I don't want to ever get stuck in a position where I'm the one telling, but I'm the one asking and listening. So once you get to that closing table, right, there's a lot of things that happen between that preliminary call, handling objections throughout the conversation, how you present your offer, how you present a range, not an exact number, how you ask them if they're willing to take a number in a certain range before you ever just give them a contract or an official number, overcoming those objections that they'll give you. For example, someone might say $105,000. Right? And you're like, okay, yeah, I can do $105,000. Let me get the paperwork. And they're like, well, I need to have, right? So the first rule of thumb to overcome certain objections, the first one being, I need to talk to so-and-so. I need to get my wife on here. You need to have all decision makers on the call or the appointment. So I do a couple preliminary things before every appointment. I will check title. I'll check county records and figure out who's on title. So if it's an LLC, I will ask the seller. I see that it's owned under, Smith Properties LLC. Who's a beneficiary? Who's in charge of that? Are you 100% owner of that LLC? I want to make sure that if there's someone else, a partner in that they're involved in the discussion. If they're not, if they're like, my first deal ever, I asked that question, and there's a strange partnership. He's like, no, you're going to have to talk to my partner because we're not talking anymore. And I had to negotiate twice and be the advocate between the two of them because their partnership has gone south. Right? So you got to figure those things out before the appointment because you got to have all decision makers that need to sign. If I see it's owned by a Sam Smith and I'm talking to a John Jones, I'd be like, Sam Smith owns it. Who's John Jones? Oh, well, he died. Oh, who is that? Oh, that was my father-in-law. My wife is one of the beneficiaries. Well, who else is a beneficiary? Has it gone through, probate? Right? I'm trying to figure out everything that's really going on with the actual ownership, so I'm negotiating with the right person. Then when I get there and they say, well, this person needs to sign as well. Thank you for the information. I'll take it to them. I want to talk to everyone that's a decision maker. So you prepare for that objection in the beginning. You still will get the objection, I need to talk to so-and-so. I'll give you an example. I was negotiating a deal. Lady and her husband were from Mexico. Husband had already moved back to Mexico. She was stuck at the house. The only thing that was keeping her there in the States was this house that needed to be sold. She was there with the kids. I hadn't seen her husband in months. She was sad, she was lonely, and she wanted to go home. And,
halfway done, yo.
She was the only one on title. It was 100% under her name. I knew this was a situation. We were at the closing table. We verbally agreed to a number. And I said, so if I agreed to that number, are you saying we can put that on paper? And she said, the famous objection, well, I need to call my dad. He has nothing to do with the situation. So the first number one thing that you do with an objection like this, the one I need to talk to someone, I need to have an attorney review it, I never make a rash decision. You never argue with them. You never say, yeah, but, and argue, yeah, but my time's valuable. Well, I need an answer right now or we're not going to do a deal. When you try and force someone, when you try to strong arm someone, you're going to get the opposite of what you want. The first thing you do is you have to be a human being. You have to treat them as if it was your family. If your aunt called and said, well, I want to talk to my friend. I want to talk to my friend that has some stuff too and see what she do. I would say, okay, yeah, I totally understand. Are you? And then I'd ask why. Are you asking because you want to be confident in the number? This is where I dig in more. Because I want to understand the person. I want to figure out what they want, what they're thinking, what their fears are. So I say, 100%. I want you to be comfortable and confident. Are you calling that person because you don't feel confident that I'm giving you a good offer? And I label. I ask a question and I label what I think the answer is. Why do I do this? Because when they're giving objections at the close table like this, there's a lot of things inside them they're not telling you. They might have an offer already. They might even be under contract with another investor and they're just trying to figure out what your number is. Because you contacted them once they were under contract. You're going to discover some crazy you had no idea was there. You're going to discover people are dying from cancer at this point. This is when the real objections, this is when the real negotiating begins. When you discover by labeling. So I learned this from Chris Voss. He's a hostage negotiator, right? And the reason we label, we say, okay, I totally understand. That you need to talk to someone. Are you wanting to talk to him because you don't feel like I'm giving you a good deal? You label like that because everyone wants to be heard and understood. So if you label something, they're going to immediately fire back with what the real answer is, what the real problem is. No, it's not that. I just would feel way more comfortable talking to my sister because she had mentioned that I could move in with her. Oh, so if I buy your house, you're going to need to move in with your sister. Well, what happens if, that's kind of a major issue. What if I buy the house and she won't let me move in? Is that what you're worried about? Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Oh, that's why you want to call your sister. Okay, so what about, the worst case scenario, she says no. When did she say that she could? And then you work through those objections and say, well, what if we structured something like this? You might hate this idea, but what if we say you have 30 days to move out of your house and we give you the majority of your money so you can take that money and go get a rental. We do what's called an escrow holdback, and I explained it all. I said, what if we did something like that? Would that work? Oh yeah, that totally takes care of it. Okay, so if I do that and agree to that with that number, are you saying we could put that on paper and agree to move forward? Yes, that's what I'm saying. You can sign the contract, move on. Right? But if you try and fight them on their objections, they're going to not work with you. So a lot of the times they're like, well, I just want to be comfortable with the decision. Okay, so you just need to call him. Well, great, I'm super thirsty. I'm going to run over and grab some caffeine at the gas station. I'll be right back. Call your dad and let's see if we can do this deal. And if I get back and your dad wants to talk to me, I'll even talk to you. But I'd love to work with you or not work with you, and that's okay. If you don't want to work with me, it won't hurt my feelings. But I'd love for you to talk to your dad. I don't want you to feel like you're making a decision that's not best for you. Right? So I'm going to run to the gas station. I'll be back. That's what I did with this Hispanic lady. And she called her dad. And she's like, I really want you to talk to my dad. I said, okay, put me on speaker. Let's talk to your dad. And I explained what was going on, what the situation was. I said, do you have any concerns? Do you feel like there's anything that she's missing? I talked to the dad, had his, love and approval for me, right? Because I was authentically going through all his objections and problems the same way I did with hers. When we signed the agreement right then, right? She was able to sell her house, move on. I made some money. She's with her husband, right? So that's the first objection is I need to talk to someone. And I handled it by agreeing with her and helping her through that process. You'll get things like, in this situation, well, I don't even know what my payoff is. Call the title company, right? Work through those problems after closing. I learned this rule of thumb from my mentor. So you guys probably know wholesaling needs, right? So Tom Kroll's the founder of this company. His business partner in the coaching business, Cody Hoffine. So Cody Hoffine, I worked for him for a time as an acquisition manager while I was doing it on the side. And his business partner in the wholesaling business here in Utah is Mark Stubler. My goodness, I'm struggling today. Probably because I haven't eaten. Brain fog. So Mark Stubler taught me this. He said that he had a lead one time, and he told me how to be an acquisition manager and overcome objections, overcome problems, and solve them. He said that he had a lead one time, and it was the dad estate. It was a condo. It was a vacation rental. It was a ski property for him. And he got a call from a guy from one of his postcards, and he said, yeah, I'd like to sell my house, but I'm not coming down to Utah here for a couple months. And when I'm there, I've got a couple other investors going to look at the house. But the situation is, he's like, why don't you just sell it to me now? Like, what's going on? I asked him a smart question. Okay, that's totally fine, but why, then, not now? He said, well, I have a luxury car in the garage, I have all my crap in the house, I got to get it all cleaned out and then before I can sell it. So he said, oh, that totally makes sense. Well, you might hate this idea. This is another rule of thumb. Like, you never say, okay, fine, but what we're going to do is this. Don't do that, right? Because they're gonna feel like you're controlling the situation and selling them and pushing them. You're problem solving. You're now on their team by saying, you might hate this idea, but what if I did something like this to help you out? Which is, we could pay a professional moving company to ship your car to, and have the professional company box up all of your stuff and ship it to you on my dime. It'll be my non-refundable earnest money. So if we agree on a price, I'll cover those expenses as like my down payment money, right? And if I don't perform on the contract, you can sell it to those other people and the house will be vacant. We agree on a price and work together today. If I take care of all those things, we can't close on it until you have all your stuff. Would you hate that idea? What do you think? He's like, you would do that? I said, sure, I'd be happy to if we could come to an agreement on a fair price. They agreed on a price and we wholesaled that contract for $60,000. Right? And the other wholesalers are sitting there, right, with their fingers in their noses waiting for that guy to call them back still to this day. Right? Because he solved the objection on what they needed. So let's talk about some of the other objections and how I handle them and how I solve the problem, right? These are the sticky ones, right? I need to have my attorney review the contract. My answer is 100%. You should never sign an agreement unless you're 100% confident with everything that it says, right? Is that your concern, that there might be something in the contract that you don't understand and put you in a bad position? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Well, you might hate this idea, Mr. Senator, but we could read through my agreement. We don't have to sign anything. It's just read through it. I keep it really simple on purpose. So you understand it, so I understand it, so there's no confusion or fear that someone's taking advantage of each other. You know, we've kind of gone back and forth and are in the same ballpark of price. You know, we've agreed on that, but you just got to make sure that the agreement is understood before you sign anything. Am I understanding, or is there any other objections or problems that would make you want to work with me? No, there's nothing else. Okay, so do you hate the idea of reading through it, and if you understand everything, that we can move forward? Is that okay? Right? And the answer will be yes. If I understand everything, I'll sign it. Or it'll be no. No, I still just want to have my attorney. At that point, there's more objections. If you give them a clear and obvious and clean solution to the objection they gave you, it's a false objection. There's objections, there's false objections. Most of the hard objections to cover are false objections. I need to talk to someone, I need to have my attorney review it, or I sleep on it. I don't ever make rash decisions. So when you discover it's a false objection, you're giving an actual solution to their problem by introducing it. You might hate this idea, but what if we did something like this? Like, no, I still like to have my attorney review it. It's like, okay, 100%, you can still have your attorney review it. But if you completely understood the agreement, why would you want pay your attorney to review something you already 100% understand? Well, that's just how I do things. It's like, okay, fair enough. If that's how you want to do things, we can totally do it that way. But I also kind of feel that you have other reasons you don't want to work with me. Do you have other investors coming in? Do you feel like I'm lowballing you and you're trying to get a second opinion? Is that what's going on? So I just labeled because I'm trying to get to the true objection. Right? You discover limiting or false objections by giving solutions to them, but then you find the real problem by introducing and labeling a new problem you think the problem might be. Most people are terrified to do this because they're afraid that they're going to chase the person away, that they're going to uncover the real problems and kill the deal. Well, the thing is if you can't uncover the real problems and solve them, the deal was dead from the get-go, and you never would have got it. Now you're just going to waste more time by following up. I learned this doing door-to-door sales. Okay? I would get to the doorstep, I'd do the bid, and I'd give them the offer. You know, the number one and the only objection I had to learn how to overcome was I need to have my spouse approve it. And for the longest time, I would say, okay, definitely talk to your spouse. And I'd call them, and guess what they'd say? I forgot. If I could get a hold of you. And I'd spend hours and hours and hours. It was more useful for my time just to continue to door knock than to follow up. So I never followed up. And that's what many of you are probably dealing with. You have all these people that are right there, but you can't get them to sign paper. It's because you're not overcoming those objections. So what I learned with window cleaning is I would say, you know what, you're right. You shouldn't spend this kind of money until you talk to your spouse. I mean, with my spouse, if she wanted to have windows cleaned, I'd be like, yeah, for sure, but I would want to know about it first. So I totally appreciate what you're saying here. You know, you might hate this idea, but what if we schedule a time that makes sense for you because you want it, right? We schedule a time for you, and all you have to do is text me this number right here that you want to cancel the appointment if your spouse says no. Is that fair to save us both time? And if they won't book an appointment with me, I never call them back, I never worry about it. I said, okay, well, if you want it done, call me this number. They really don't want to get their windows cleaned. They're just too nice to say no to a dumb kid, right? But if they say, yeah, that works, you know how many people texted me back? None of them. Sometimes I'd show up and think, shit, I forgot to talk to my spouse. I'm like, well, I'm already here. I've already paid my crew to be here. Like, they feel bad and wash their windows every time, right? And so I learned to overcome that objection by agreeing with them and giving them a solution. It's the same thing, but we're talking about making tens of thousands of dollars a contract and not a few $100, right? So the next objection, let's cover the next objection. That's the attorney one. The next, we've covered the, I need to talk to someone. We've talked the attorney one. Here's the next one. I need to sleep on it. So I don't make rash decisions. I sleep on it. First of all, this is always a false objection. If someone goes to the, to the store to buy, to buy something and they see ice cream when they're walking down the aisle and they're like, damn, I want some ice cream. They don't sleep on it. They buy the ice cream. Right? They didn't go to the store for the ice cream, but they want ice cream. They didn't necessarily think you're going to show up to that appointment to sign an agreement, but they did want to sell the house. They're just a little bit uncomfortable with you. There's some other false objection. They don't know if you're for the best price. There's something else going on. So you want to give them a very fair solution. You agree with them, give them a solution. They'll still say no, or they'll agree to it. If they still say no, it's 100% a false objection and you can get through it, right? So this is how I handle it, okay? I say, you know what, that's fair. I don't want you to feel pressure. I feel like, I've showed up, you don't really know me that well, we've got to know each other. I totally understand you don't want to sign an agreement without being in agreement, You might need to sign an agreement, but to save you time, since I'm already here, you can sign an agreement. But then on an addendum, basically we could write down that you can text me by this time tomorrow to cancel this contract. You don't want to work with me. I've used this one so many times. Do people text you back? Yep. Do some people not text you back to move forward? Yep. But the people that do text you back and say, hey, I want to cancel this, I say, okay, 100%, that was in the agreement. Thanks for letting me know. Right? It was super nice meeting with you. Do you never want to see me again or talk to me ever again? The answer is no. Like, okay, well then what happened? Why did you feel like you needed to cancel the agreement? Well, I wanted to get some more offers. Oh, fair enough. Totally get some more offers. I was probably paying a little bit more, and I think I probably should have, just because I was there and I was trying to make the deal happen. Let me double check my numbers. How many offers are you getting? Oh, I'm getting 3 more offers. Okay, you already have people lined up coming out. You have days and times. That's awesome. I'm glad that you're going to be a little bit more confident with my offer. What's more important to you, to get as much as possible or working with someone that you trust? Both? Okay, why don't we do this? Before you sign a buy and sell agreement with anyone, will you give me a chance to be last? Will you give me a chance to talk to you one last time before you sign an agreement? Because I'd love to work with you. Maybe I can come up on price. Maybe they're going to be so much higher, and after we talk, I'll tell you to go with someone else, right? But would you at least give me a chance? I can't tell you how many times, guys, I've signed contracts for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 less than contracts they have in their hands by doing this. Because when people want speed and convenience over price, it's not about you, it's about who they're working with. It's a confidence that you can take care of the problem. That's how I handle that last objection. But guys, all of this stuff, all of this scripting, all of this objection handling, none of this would change, bringing it back to how I started. None of this would change if my old mom called me. Seriously. I'd say, Mom, you could probably make more doing it this way. I could keep in contact with my agent. Why don't you do it that way? Well, I don't want to deal with it, son. Okay, well, I'm going to make some money dealing with it because I got employees and I got a team and I got acquisitions. Like, I got to charge money because I'm using my team to get through all this stuff and I'm acquiring expenses to take care of all. Are you okay with that? Yeah, I'm okay with that. Okay. Right? It's the same process, regardless of who's calling. So keep that in mind that this is a very wholesome business, right? We can make money, right? You can make life-changing money, deal after deal. You can do deals of a lifetime every freaking day of your life in a wholesome way. And I felt like that in the beginning. And I hear people comment on my TikToks and see people comment that stuff on my social media content. And I get it. I was in the same headspace. I totally agree with it. Because there are a lot of guys who are doing that. And like I said, if we negotiate as a whole, as every wholesaler, every real estate investor, if we're negotiating this way and really serving people, we will get thank you letters. You will have people hugging you. You will get referrals. You will have people that want to refer their friends and family. You guys will make a fortune off of referrals, right? Plus, you will have a good reputation in the industry as wholesalers solve problems and bless lives, not people that steal up money, right? When you try and lie about what people's house is worth, you lie that you're barely making the money to make a fortune. When you are bending the truth to manipulate and take advantage of people, that's when this shit doesn't work. That's when you're banging your head against the wall. You absolutely hate your sellers and they hate you and you hate the industry and you hate everything about it. If you do it differently, though, it's going to.
I finished the set and there's 2 more left.
Well, we have been, but we can come over for appetizers.
Great, what time? Would you guys like wine?
Oh, you're
A bottle of wine?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I'm
You
gonna
give me a little tipsy and I might sign a contract.
That is not the intention. Don't drink it until I leave. You know, you're super confident, happy with the decision of working. Fair enough?
That's fair. You're very trustworthy.
Okay, well, thank you guys. Well, I'll be there. You guys like red or white?
Red, please.
Okay, there it is. I will be there, what did you say, 7:30, 7?
6.
No, 6. And the plan 100% is we're going to come to an agreement on a price and move forward or not move forward. Okay?
That would be ideal, yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're on the same page for that appointment. And I'm so looking forward to it. We'll see you soon, okay?
Absolutely. Man, way to turn that around. So good.
Yeah, it's all about, like, pushing people to give me a yes or no. It's like there's nothing more annoying than a maybe, because that's nothing. That's a time set. Your job is to authentically be there to help people or not help people and make that very clear. Too many people are so brave to hurt someone's feelings or ask someone because they don't want to work with them. That means they're not going to get paid. When in the end of the day, if they're not what Kodak says a true teller and a true seeker, right? They're not going to get to the truth of the matter. And they're not going to solve the problem. They're not going to overcome the objection and get a yes or a no.
Got a question from Jake Graves.
So what if you have great places, like the vacant house people does, like lots of weird situations, I usually go off the windows on vacant houses. We got a situation with hospital, very rarely will they make a number, but at that level, I get a stick unit as the minor leaser for $200 a month, so I would suggest that it's not like a stick tracer, it's like diving in, figuring out canceling against teleportation, and phone numbers, really working to track down that person. So that would be an option.
Cool. Do you know how to get employment back?
Yeah, guys. We have a special link to machine to book a call. Yeah.
I took over Matt's hosting. Here we go.
We got David excited. He's been out there. Oh, yeah. There it is. Yes, you have to imagine that on those David Food Call. Today's on my day. Just book a call. I'm really happy to talk to you guys. See if we can help you. The way the call set up is business, well, they get 10 extra. I'm just going to business when there's